Hi guys, it's me, Debby Bubbles. Welcome back to my channel and into the walls of our home. In this video, I'm going to share with you the preparation of several different meals along with a little bit of tragedy or life that happened. Alrighty, y'all. It is February. The love month is here. Well, every month is love month to us, but you know. It is also time to celebrate Black excellence. It's Black History Month. Y'all, I am going to prepare for y'all a roast in the crock pot, as well as some dressing and a few other things. So come along with me and watch. Now, we have there our roast and most of the items that are going to go into the crock pot along with. So I'm going to give you some step by step and other things are just some extras. Now I'm going to take this roast and clean it and then we will season. So we have our roast there already washed in the sink here waiting to be seasoned. As for seasoning our roast, I'm going to use pretty much the same things that I use most of the time for a lot of different items that I cook. Just let you see what we have going on here. And I'm going to go ahead and season the roast, then I'll come back and chop veggies. Now I'm going to just slice and dice these in no particular shape, form, or fashion. They're going inside of the crock pot, so it's not going to matter. We're just enhancing our roast with flavor. So there's our celery cut up. Next we're going to work on our bell pepper. And again, not doing any particular slice or dice to this, just giving it a nice rustic chop because it's going into the crock pot with our meat once we have it browned and ready to go. And next we're coming in with our onion. Now in the background, you're hearing the tea kettle. It's over there boiling and doing its thing. So that's what that funny noise is in the background. And let me go ahead and mention to you, I'm doing things a little differently than I typically would and usually would. I normally don't use my crock pot for a roast, but again, for space, I'm going to go ahead and put this roast in the oven, as well as timing, because I'm going to let it go for 14 hours. I'm going to start it on 10 hours, and when that 10 hours is up, I'm then going to add an additional 4 hours to the cook time. I want it to be tender, and that's what that is. Now, also, I'm going to dredge my meat and brown it off, which I typically do not do. Forgive me, I got a little tangled there. We're not going to put this in the oven. It's going in the crock pot. Okay, y'all, so I have my onion peeled. Finally, I had to fight with it for some reason just to get it peeled. I don't know what the deal was on that. But again, just with the other vegetables, we're just doing a rough chop. Just a rough, rustic chop. Okay, so our vegetables are ready to go into that crock pot once we have our meat seared off. So hang on and I'll be back. I am actually going to give our meat a very light dusting of flour before we sear it. Just a little light coating of flour, and then we're gonna head to the skillet here in just a moment. Just wanted to get a little light coating of dusting of flour. And here we go. So we have our skillet ready with the oil in it. And go ahead and add that meat in there, and we're going to sear all sides. Okay, y'all, so I'm working on that sear. I went ahead and turned that sooner than what I really needed to. I'll brown it off a little bit more. For some reason, okay, y'all, I'm working on that sear, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I'm fighting with my stovetop today, so hang on a moment. Alrighty, so we have the roast browned up as nicely as we're going to get it. I went ahead and put that inside the crock pot, and now in the same skillet with the remaining oil that was rendered from the meat, as well as the oil that was already in the pan, I've added in our vegetation. I've added in the vegetables, the onions, garlic, and the celery. So we're just going to let this saute for just a little bit, not necessarily looking for color, just trying to tenderize it a little bit, give it a head start before I walk it over here to the crock pot and put it across that meat there. So now we have the vegetables on top of our chuck roast, and we are about ready to go. Next up, we're going to work on our gravy. Basically, we're going to start it off. Now, y'all, it's going to be pretty loose. It's going to be a thinner, it's not going to be 40 weight. It's going to be a thinner gravy to start off because, again, this is going in the crock pot. And so this is just going to give it a little something to maintain the liquid level in there and to help tenderize the meat until tomorrow when we finish up that roast. Now, I did start another project. I have a lot of things going at the same time. So I'm chopping veggies for the dressing. Okay, the gravy is still doing its thing on the stove top. I'm trying to brown off the flour, and so I'm adding some garlic powder and a few other things to the crock pot. All right, guys, so I am working on my roux for my gravy. My husband loves a rich dark brown gravy with everything, and so I am browning up this flour and oil, and when we get where we need to be, we'll then start adding our water and let it cook out some, and then we'll put it inside of the crock pot with our roast. Yep, I added a little pat of butter to help with that browning process. I am not going to get this gravy nearly as brown as what I wanted it to be. I think I was just rushing myself for one because I have so many different things going, and I wanted to get this crock pot started. So anyway, I didn't get it as brown as what he prefers, but don't think it wasn't good because it was. Okay, here I've added in water to the browned off flour and oil to make that gravy, and in a moment we're going to check the seasonings, and then we're going to get it poured over that roast in that crock pot. Here goes nothing. Slowly and ever so carefully, we're going to walk this across the kitchen to the crock pot on the opposite side of the kitchen there and pour it over our pot roast. All right, guys, y'all hear me shuffling around. I'm in my house slippers or whatever. It's early morning and I'm in the kitchen getting things started. So there is a gravy atop the roast inside of our crock pot. Let's put our lid on, set it, and forget it. And now we are going to melt some butter so that we can saute our vegetables because, again, we're making a roast in the crock pot. I'm also doing the prep for some cornbread dressing. And as I was sauteing the vegetables, my husband walked in and he asked me if I could make him some salmon croquettes with grits and biscuits. So we're going to make a store run here in just a moment. Actually, there is no woe is me. You know, I love to cook, and more than that, I love to cook for this one right here. Okay, y'all, so our vegetables are ready. I'm going to take them off the heat and set them aside to cool before we go any further into our dressing preparation. Yeah, I really don't know how far I got along in showing you what I was doing because I had a message and a phone call that one of my children had been involved in a pretty bad accident, and I got off of here, so I am still working on the dressing, and yeah, I'll go from there. I was a little bit shook, and you can probably hear it in my voice there as I was recording, and probably now because it makes me well up with tears again. But thank God my son, along with everyone else who was involved in the accident, they're all well. Praise the Lord. No lives lost. Here in the container with the celery, bell pepper, and onions, I've added many poultry seasons, sage, garlic, a plethora of, I don't know, dressing scented and aromatics to this bowl along with butter. There's probably about a whole stick of butter that's going to go into this preparation altogether. So we have arrived at Sunday morning. The 10 hours are up for this roast, and we're going to check on it and then give it 4 additional hours before we do anything more with it. Now, y'all, I mentioned that my husband wanted salmon croquettes with grits and biscuits, all that good stuff. Well, I did stop and or pause and make that for him after we made a little bit of a grocery run. And so if you want to see footage of that, you'll have to check out one of my vlogs for that one. In case I didn't mention it, in this video, I'm preparing a lot of things, a lot of different things. I have the roast in the crock pot. I have cornbread dressing. Here I am getting vegetables ready because I'm going to saute some squash and onions, that kind of thing, because we are having a baked potato bar this evening for dinner along with the roast for those who want some roast. And then the dressing is going with chicken, which you see there. I actually was working on 3 meals at the same time, basically, not for all in the same day. So I've cleaned up my chicken, I've seasoned my chicken, and now we've put it inside of the roasting pan. We're going to go in with the vegetables that I have sliced up, which are onions and bell peppers, and there's a little bit of chicken bouillon that we've sprinkled over the top. There are baked potatoes that we're going to have this evening for that baked potato bar, and there's our roast. Isn't she steaming hot and beautiful? I'm going to slice this baby up going against the grain, and we're going to set her aside. And we're going to proceed on to reducing down our gravy for that roast. Next up, we're going to saute the onions, bell peppers, and eventually the yellow squash because, again, we're doing a baked potato bar, and one of my children doesn't eat potatoes at all. He's given those up for a couple years now. And so I want to make sure I have plenty of vegetables on hand so that instead of the potatoes, he can at least have other vegetables. And you can add this to your potato, to your plate, or whatever. So I have reduced down the gravy as much as I want it. We're going to pour that over that beautiful roast there, and then we're going to set it aside and go on to our chicken. We roasted off those chicken thighs, and then I came in with a can of cream of chicken soup and a little water to make a little gravy with it. There is our cornbread dressing. You also saw the container that had the squash, onions, and bell pepper. There is rice because my husband loves rice. We all love rice, so I have rice as well. And our baked potatoes that are now being kept warm inside of the crock pot. And here is the aftermath of most of the cooking that I did today. We're going to call it done. For now, anyway.